We are three friends who met in college and now are working in diverse fields across the globe. Curious to know about what our friends are up to. So here we are, connecting, talking, and learning from our friends. In this podcast, we are sharing extraordinary insights from our not so ordinary friends, working in various industries, and sharing their stories and their journey so far. These are your hosts, Hiloni Panatar
Atit Kothari.
And Tapan Desai.
And this is What the Hat. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss on any episodes. Today we have a super talented first guest with us, Jay Shah, an engineer working at Facebook since the past 2.5 years. And he has been actively involved in Silicon Valley startups and community, helping early stage startups go from ideation to execution. Welcome, Jay. Welcome on the show.
Hey Jay,
Thank you
what's
for
up?
having me here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I remember Jay, Hiloni and I, we met even before college started. We were waiting in the queue for the admission. It was late in the evening. We were waiting to pick our departments so that we will get computer science or IT or EXTC. It was fun. I still remember it very vividly.
Yep, and we were the last three people.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know if we would meet again, but here we are. We all ended up in the same place, worked together on a bunch of stuff. It was a nice memories that we created.
Totally. I believe we spent the entire day in the admission process and each of us having multiple discussions that we have other college and other prospects in place, and probably we might just take those. But I think destiny had it that we had to be in the same department at the same class, and the journey started from there.
Cool. So let's start from the beginning. Jay, why engineering?
I've always had an inclination towards science and how can you leverage that towards solving problems. So that was a direct way to explore further about it.
Nice. And yeah, I guess engineering gives you an outlet to do that. You're constantly solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely gives you tool set to organize your thinking.
Yeah.
Jay, was it because you had bunch of people around you who wanted to do engineering and you were inspired by anyone in particular to?
I don't think so. So in my family, I think there's only one another engineer besides me. So my family is more focused towards doing commerce and then getting into your own business.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I was the odd one out.
Okay, that's interesting. So Jay, how was your engineering life like? And then what did you learn that you're still using?
Yes, so my experience at college was just amazing. So a couple of things that I really cherish from that time is one, the connections. So I met all three of you during engineering, and the quality of people that was there at DSN was just amazing. Very like-minded people. Always interested to explore new things and working on interesting projects. So that was an amazing thing that helped me further in my career. And also everyone during the engineering time was very supportive of me trying different things. And that is one thing that I would take away from there is usually people say that you should just focus on one thing, but at least from my personal experience, I feel that trying different things has helped me. So doing a project on solar energy or writing software or just doing something random with class taught me very different levels of skills that I can use further.
Interesting. I think talking about amazing projects, I definitely would want to bring up the entrepreneurial project that you started while in DJ Sangvi. I think relates to me a lot personally because starting it at that point of time when we were just exploring mediums and figuring out what to do, and I believe you came up with Zest Solutions right in college, and a bunch of us used to sit and talk about it, and I believe that you had some projects running in while our engineering was going on. So tell us a little more about that. How was that experience?
Sure. So the first thing is Zest was started by three of us, so Tapan, Pooja, and me. And the experience was really crazy. And yes, to your point, the entrepreneurial word, I don't think I even knew the word entrepreneur at that time. I just felt that we are three random people working on projects to get some side money out of it. So yeah, like thinking now and then, it's very different the way I think about startups.
And then how was the experience like for me personally? I remember we three going to our clients and like pitching ideas, like build this website, build this app, and like talking to 50-year-old people who have already been working, not in the same field, but like in a field. And then like we going there as a college student, like that was amazing for me because we used to be so nervous every time before we made a pitch. And then like things worked out, like we used to celebrate so much. So I think that was the best part for me.
I think like the favorite thing for me was how can you like write some lines of code on a computer and it would have such a huge impact on someone's business. Like I never realized like when doing engineering that like it can relate to actual real impact so quickly. And like getting to see that in real time was very inspiring and like made me do it further more and more.
I was just saying that I think that's one thing that motivates like every entrepreneur to start, and the reason that they keep continuing, the constant impact that they are making by even the little bit that they do.
Absolutely.
I was asking like if you had a favorite project like when you were working on the solution.
I think like the Smart Snap project that we were working on, which was basically like you point your camera towards something and it will recognize it and then enable you to shop it on different platforms. That was one of my favorite projects. And like now if you see after 5 years, we see the same technology in Amazon. Hope we continued on that project. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember messaging you. I think back when you were in Target, like I was telling like, hey, look, this was the thing that we were working on. And now, yeah, it was on Amazon. I remember that,
Yeah.
Jay is always ahead of the curve. I think that's what in my experience, you're always ahead of the curve. I remember like, I think it was like 2011 or something. You were like, dude, this thing called Bitcoin is going to be huge. Let's buy it. I didn't even know what the hell that was. I don't know if you remember telling me, but Bitcoin, I heard Bitcoin first from.
Oh wow, I don't remember this, but yeah, like I think like it was a whole good group of people. So a lot of things that we worked on, I remember like with Ati, it was like the 3D chess concept and the touchscreen things. Like, they were really cool projects, and I think Ati was the idea maker.
Yeah, thank you for saying that though. So okay, let's move to your master's journey. So you did your master's in computer science from USC. Was there any reason why you selected USC over other colleges?
So there's a very funny story behind that, and like I did not choose USC, but USC chose me. And the thing that happened was like I had applied to 5 colleges. And 4 already gave me a reject, and I was like, okay, I don't think anything is going to work out, and like I'll just figure out something in Mumbai. And at that time, I had declined the job offer also, so like I was kind of tensed as to what I'll do. And like one day I received this email from USC that okay, you have been accepted, and like you can visit us. And I was like, okay, yes, this is the only option that I have, and I'll go ahead with it.
And like, how did you decide on what specialization you specifically wanted to do? Like, was that something you always thought on while in engineering? Okay, I want to be in computer science and like build further things into that space.
Yes, sort of. So, like while like during our IT engineering, it was a lot more clear that I'm interested into writing software, and that was a natural progression to go further and like hone my skills in engineering related to computer science.
Did you have a favorite subject in like USC?
I took a class from MBA, which is like building your startup, and I think that's where I learned the most. The whole class was full of MBAs, and I was the only engineer in there. So like they were more focused towards like how do you think about market sizing, how do you think about strategy, how do you think about launches. So like we actually did not have to create a startup. But like it helped me with a lot of like putting a lot of structure around like when I start thinking about project.
Okay, that's interesting. And that's one thing I really like about education in US. You can take courses outside of what you specialize in. Similar, like I could take courses in media and communication while I was doing information management. So what was your favorite like experience about studying in US compared to when you studied in India?
I would double on what you said. So like the ability to select options and then like directly apply it to real life problems. That was the best part.
Yeah, I think the learning curve there is like a little, I mean, you have to be self-motivated as well because there are so many options and so much to like explore that if you find the right side of things, you definitely can like delve deeper and like seek the right people who have been masters at it and like get the information flowing for yourself. So I think the implementation comes in easy because also there are a lot more opportunities where you can implement them compared to probably we had a very, very one-directional learning process in India back in engineering, and like even like exploring a new entire software or the way we want to learn would always like be like a thing our teachers would be taken aback that okay, why are you doing this? Like first do what you're exactly supposed to do better and then like go ahead and do something new.
Totally agree to you. And I think like especially with my masters, I think I learned a lot more outside of the university as compared to like being in a classroom and then just imbibing that knowledge from the professor.
Were you working on any projects like outside of what were the projects that you were working on outside of your regular coursework?
So I had joined a community called the Startup Garage at USC, and it was a bunch of people who were working on their own startups, and most of my time was dedicated to helping companies there, as compared to like doing anything else.
Wait, so like the Startup Garage, so there were startups that already existed and you were going in as a consultant to help them out?
Right. So like at that time, it was like a free resource for them. That like I would just go in and help them write some code and like help them move their idea along towards execution. And I think like I spend most of my time there itself.
Wow, so majorly like play a catalyst to them finally like able to get their project live or their business live.
That was your whole USC experience and like how you did your master's. So what happened after you graduated? Like tell us more about your work, like professional experience after you graduated from USC.
Like while I was at my second year at USC, I was working on a startup, and like we were three of us, and like while I was about to be graduated, we realized that we could not raise more money, and then we had to switch it off. So then I was starting to search for an actual job, and thankfully I got a job at Target as a data engineer. And so like I started working there, and then while working at Target, I was also working on a few side projects, which was fun.
Okay, a couple of questions there. So what was the startup that you were working on and that you wanted to continue but couldn't? Like what was that startup?
It was a startup where like if you're about to buy something on Amazon, it will pop up and tell you that, okay, don't buy it from Amazon, but you can buy it from these different places. And the benefits are X, Y, and Z. So it may be that you can have a coupon that you can use, or there's a good amount of price difference that will incentivize you to like buy it from another platform. You can think of it as an e-commerce aggregator.
Okay, so like Honey, like that.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, Honey was our competitor.
Wow. So like Jeff, with your curriculum and your coursework going on in a master's program, how were you able to like manage your time and like keep doing these side hustles, be it DJ Sanghvi or be it in USC? You've always had these simultaneous things going on, and like how is it that you've been managing that so well?
I think at some point you have to draw a line that like what is really important. And at USC, I realized that I'm not learning a lot through the courses themselves. So like for the second whole year, I did not attend any of my classes. And like there was one course that I was about to fail, but thankfully did not. But yeah, like I just didn't used to go to classes. I would finish my assignments and just attend examinations, and that's it.
It's nice. So you used to spend like more time towards your projects, and the curriculum would like be just part of something you can easily manage throughout.
Kind of, yeah. Like it's something that you have to get through, but like it doesn't add any value.
It makes it sound like a genius here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Heloni. That is Jay. Like he will work 20 hours a day and then like he'll get through the coursework. I know because USC coursework is very heavy in terms of amount of hours everyone has to put in. and Jai saying it was like a side thing, and then he was working on something else. That's Jai Shah being Jai Shah.
No, but at the same time, like I would get a C grade, whereas like other people would get A's. So like yeah, it was a compromise if you were to put it that. Like I definitely did not do both the things well.
Okay, so you were not focusing on your GPA much, rather than you were focusing on something that you wanted to build.
Right, because during the search for an internship, I soon realized that it was more around like what can you demonstrate in terms of your building ability, and not what's your GPA. Because like having a 4 or a 3.9 is very common across a lot of people. But like when you start looking at the resume, you realize that okay, they have just done your project work and nothing outside of that.
And like, did that help you when you were actually looking for a job? Like the experience that you gained outside of your regular coursework?
Absolutely. So, like when we shut down my startup, and I was looking for my job, all the places where I interviewed were referenced, and it was from people who had worked with me before. So like they could put in a strong word that okay, this is the person and he's kind of good. So that definitely did help me, and I think that helped me more than just applying randomly to like 50 other companies.
Going back to your role at Target as a data engineer, you said, what is that like? What is a data engineer?
Conceptually, it's very similar to a software engineer. The only difference is that you're more focused towards working with huge amounts of data as compared to writing system level code. And like the part that I was working on was pricing recommendations, so that like the prices that you see on the Target website were coming from the engine that we were building.
Okay.
So a data engineer is similar to a data scientist, or like, is there a difference there as well?
Yes, so the engineer focuses more on like cleaning the data, making sure that you have all the fields required, making sure that you're able to run the software, run the algorithm that the data scientist provides to you at scale. Whereas data scientist is more focused towards writing an algorithm on like how to compute the price that should be displayed for a particular product.
Gotcha.
So was that something that you all were taught in your undergrad? I mean, did you learn that at USC, or is what it was a completely new experience on the whole learning curve towards this specific work at Target?
Yeah, it was a very different experience, and like when I was interviewing at Target, the question that I would ask to the interviewer was like, what is the difference between a software engineer and a data engineer? Because it was very fuzzy in my mind, and like I could not actually articulate it.
Right. Was there any specific tool set, like it could be probably any languages or maybe some sort of concepts, a list of concepts that helped you get that particular job?
No, like before going to Target, I was not even thinking about applying as a data engineer. It was just something that I had to get through because like I had limited options and limited time.
Okay, and then how long did you work for Target? And then we know that you moved to Facebook. So, like, can you elaborate on that as well?
Sure. So I worked for Target for around 1 year and 3 months. And like while working at Target, I realized that I wanted to do something that helps me towards my ultimate goal of starting my own company. So at Target, like I was doing more of an engineering role. And like the new opportunity that I was going to interview for Facebook was more like a mix between business and technology, where you interact with a lot of clients and then build solutions for them. And like I felt that it was the right next step, and so I thought that okay, let's do it.
So what's your role in Facebook?
So my role is called a solutions engineer, and we basically help companies who spend more than $10 million on Facebook every quarter. And like our job is to help them strategize as to how can they get the biggest return on the investment that they do on Facebook. And so that is one part. And the other part is like once we realize that there is an industry gap, while we work with all these different clients, we have to build those solutions.
Okay, and then so you go and approach the clients and then you pitch like how can they make their advertisement better?
Yeah, it's a bit different, like because those clients have already been advertising with Facebook, so it's not like more around pitching that okay that you can start advertising on Facebook, but they're already on a path, and like our job is to upsell would be the right word. That like if they're spending $1 million, how can we make them scale to like $3 million.
And I think you would be backing each and every reason with a lot of data as to how like similar industry or brands have been able to achieve that via Facebook ads, and then how will your brand be like making a difference by doing that?
Right. So it's a lot of data and a lot of testing because like each advertiser is very different by themselves. So like something that would work for X would not work for Y, and like running small tests to make sure that what you're recommending them is actually trustworthy was super helpful for us.
Nice.
Okay, so
I think like a little more Facebook, just because I personally take care of like a lot of Facebook ads for brands here as well. Would there be like probably 3 tips that you, as somebody who's been working in that space for like almost 2.5 years now, would want to give? Yeah, like want to tell that, okay, with all the testing that you have taken care of, and these are like top 3 things that you have identified or you have personally believed in, which always work.
In terms of running Facebook ads or something else?
Yeah, in terms of running like Facebook ads specifically.
So the first thing is like knowing your audience pretty well, and like getting your profile of like whom do you want to target, and having the right message to target them with makes a lot of difference. And if you see the Facebook algorithm is very tuned towards like what is the advertiser value that you can bring and what is the user value that you can bring. So unless the two match, you won't get a good result for your investment. So that is one. The second is trying to increase the engagement on your ad. And the reason is like the more people engage with your ad, Facebook feels that, okay, your ad is more worthy and they'll show it to more people for a lesser cost. And third is the creators. Like people don't put a lot of thought towards the creators that they show. But like some things that we have noticed is that the creator makes a lot of difference.
So I wanted to dig a little deeper. Like how many people do you work with usually? Like what's your team size?
So like the whole of solutions engineering is like 230 people, but my team is specifically focused towards startups. So startups like Postmates, Instacart, Pinterest, Robinhood. Yeah. So we serve these kind of people, these kind of companies.
Okay,
and it's a team of around like 7 people.
Okay. And you work with the same 7 people like across projects, or do you keep switching your teams?
So because we are a glue between the advertiser and the product teams at Facebook, our work is more with the other product teams as compared to with the people from our team.
Right.
So like we would work with people on Messenger, we would work with people on WhatsApp, and like we are cross-functional partners to them.
Right. Yeah. Facebook is probably the biggest portion of my portfolio. So whatever you guys are doing, keep doing.
Yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah.
And Facebook is kind of my bread and butter too, so I definitely want y'all to keep doing better.
So what's next for you? What do you have any plans in your near future?
I don't know. Like plans have not really worked well for me, as you can see in the past. So USC was without a plan. Target was without a plan. Facebook was without a plan. So I think I'll not put too much burden on thinking about what next, and I'll just go with the wind and see where it lands me.
That's one way to approach it.
Well said.
I mean, coming back to your personal life, I mean, we all know Pooja and we have known her since the beginning of engineering. And firstly, congratulations on your wedding. And it was a beautiful wedding.
Thank you.
So like, how have things changed for you? Like probably before marriage and after marriage, have you seen any difference, or was it like always the same?
So touch wood, there is no big difference. I think we still stay the same way that we used to before. Yeah, I'm glad that there's no difference. So.
But I think, did you find like any difference when you're like moved in together and like the long distance was over? Was that something that had some significant difference in your life?
Yes. So like we had that stage like a year before we got married, and it was very surprising that we got to know so much more about each other. Like even though we we knew each other since the past 10 years. But there were some minor things that I did not know about her or she would not know about me. And like living together actually like got us closer together.
Nice. And I think Apan said this, but like you're somebody who puts in like 20 hours a day into something that you're passionate about. So like how does Pooja take it? And like how is her whole support towards what you want to build and what you want to do?
I think the support that she provides me is just incredible. Like she accepts me the way I am, and like we still have days when like we would just meet for 2 hours, even though we are home the whole day. And the good thing is like she's also starting her own venture now, so she is busy in that. I'm busy with this, and then we find time for each other.
Oh, nice.
Wait, what is Pooja working on?
So Pooja is starting on a venture called iCraft Smiles, where she'd make customized gifts and sell it outside.
So side hustles run in your like family or in your family.
Yes. We keep ourselves.
We know Jay always is working on a side hustle. So like Jay, can you talk about what are you working right now? Like what are you working on right now?
Yes, I'd be super excited to share it. So it's a project called Mindspace Meditation. And we are working on a personalized virtual meditation studio that is focused towards people in underdeveloped and developing countries. So the whole idea is with all the chaos going on, how can we help people stay mindful and mentally healthy?
Is it similar to like Headspace or those apps?
Yes. There are a few differences though. So Headspace is definitely a bit pricey. And I think like most of the people in these countries that we are targeting do not have that luxury to afford these services. So we are doing it for free. And also like Headspace and other apps are a library of resources that you can select from. But like if you're just starting with meditation, you don't know what is the best thing to go ahead with. So we are doing that heavy lifting for the user, and we'll suggest them certain courses that they should take towards curing their symptoms.
Great. And what role are you playing into this entire startup? Like, are you building it for somebody, or is it like something you personally are working on as your project?
So this is the project that is Zest's biggest bet for this year. So we're not doing this for someone else, but as our own project.
Do you meditate?
I started to. I still am not very good. Like I get distracted a lot, but I'm trying to get better at it.
Oh, nice. And
have you seen any benefits like while you meditate? After you started meditating?
The thing is like staying at home the whole day. I get irritated a lot of times, and then just taking some time off helps. Like clear the mind and be fresh, and then go back to what you're doing all year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like while I was working for PwC, like by 5 p.m. I would be so exhausted, and like my blood would be, I could feel the blood pressure rising. So I used to just go in a room, sit there for like 10 minutes, breathe in, breathe out, and then come back. Yeah. So yeah, I can see how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Like I generally do this before any big pitch meeting. Like you're already like overwhelmed with what are you gonna do, and then I just take 5 minutes before the meeting to just concentrate into like breathing, and like once I'm into the meeting, it's so much better. Like you have so much clarity on what you want to talk and how are you gonna bring your thoughts across. It's been helpful to me for sure.
Awesome. Like I know like Tapan also meditates. You also do this. Atik, do you also do this?
I do. I'm on and off again with it. Like last 5 years, I must have started it at least like 10, 15 times, and then did it for few weeks, and then given up. Life happens, and then it takes a while before I come back to it. So if you could solve the motivation problem of coming back to the app, I think that's awesome. I haven't been able to find anything so I can use for a long period of time.
Got it. Yeah.
I think incentivizing is the key there. Yeah, like I mean, there are a lot of these workout apps which really incentivize you. I think there's one, I'm not very sure of the name, but like every time that you like number of steps that you take convert into like points which are actual currency which you can use to buy something. So the more you incentivize the person, I think that is with one of these brands that I am using in India. It's called CultFit, and they do this like every time that you attend a class, they give you like some points, and that could be redeemed into like all their other services, like their products or their meal plans or something like that. So this keeps like it makes you motivated that okay, I want to do it every day. Like I want to make sure that I check out that on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love any feedback that you guys have on this. I will definitely share.
And when are you launching the project then?
The launch for the first phase is going to be May 1st, so coming really soon. And we expect to reach like 100,000 users by the end of the year. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely send us any, and if you want any feedback, if you want us to use as, want to be your guinea pig, we're all
Yes,
yours.
I'll for sure do that.
Newton said, "If I have seen the future, it is by standing on shoulders of the giants." We bring to you these giants in the life of our guests. Our next segment is Top 3, a curated list of top 3 recommendations from our guests.
First recommendation that you'd want is the top 3 books that you have read and what you have like gifted the most.
Sure. So, like the book that I've gifted the most to people is 0 to 1. It's a book by Peter Thiel, mostly on philosophy and strategy, as to like how do you turn your startup into a success, by the lessons that he had learned while he was founding PayPal, and also while investing at Facebook. So I think that's the book that I've gifted the most to people. And then there's one more book, which is The Art of Thinking Clearly. And like it is more around the psychology where we like thinking in itself is not pure, but it is prone to error. And like that affects everyone. So like how can you remove the bias that you have when you think about something?
So the art of thinking clearly, like does it focus on like policies and then mental models on how do you think?
Yes. So it's like they have like around 99 cognitive errors that people have in their mind while they think about something. So it can be about recency bias. It can be about what is another example?
Confirmation bias.
Yes. So like certain such things where our mind has like it is at the back of our mind always, but we don't know it's there. And so like how can you remove that?
Yeah, recently like I've been like reading a lot about like fallacies and then mental models as well. The way you think, it helps a lot.
Right.
So yeah, I'm adding that to my list now.
Do you have any favorite bias of yours from that book?
I think like the recency bias is the most. So is the one that sticks to me the most.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think one of my favorite is authority bias, and I see it being used every day, especially in like villages in India and religious cults in certain section of India. If you sit on a stage with and you're wearing certain kind of garment, traditional garment, people will listen to you like because that's how it's supposed to. And same thing in the Western world. If you're wearing a suit and you have a good haircut, $200 haircut, and if you sell cancer, you'll buy it. So.
Yep.
Cool. So moving on, like, so those are your favorite books. Like, what are your favorite movies or TV shows that you watch? And I remember you telling me long back, like when we were in like doing resolutions and DJ, like you don't watch a lot of movies or TV.
Yes. I think like after coming to the United States, I've watched like 3 movies so far. But yeah, like my favorite TV show is Billions. I don't know, like it's not a very popular show, but I really like it. It's on investment banking.
Oh, I've seen that. Like the hedge fund owner, he remembers everything somehow, and then he keeps it. Yeah, and then there's this lawyer who they're fighting against.
Yes.
I remember. It's a good show. It's a very good show.
It's a crazy show.
What's the name of the show again?
Billions.
Billions. Oh yeah. HBO, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Videos and podcasts over like shows and movies?
No, I rarely watch any videos. I try to listen to podcasts when I'm traveling to work, but that's about it.
And any favorites in podcasts? Like, do you listen to certain things?
there was one like how we built this. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
if I think it correctly.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
like it's how did the company they build that company, right? Like he interviews all the founders.
Yes, and there's so much to learn from that. I really love it.
I think it's Guy Raz, right?
Yes, it's Kairaj.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Cool.
definitely adding this to my list.
It's a brilliant show. Like he interviews startup owners till I think he interviewed Airbnb founder and then like even big companies he's now interviewing. It's a very and you understand their mindset, like what were they started working on that company and why did they actually build that particular product. So it's very interesting.
Oh, nice. So
When
I mean, Jay, I'm looking at your day and the kind of recommendations you're putting out. Like, I'm very curious as to what does an ideal day in Jay Shah's life look like.
Yeah, so I usually start my day around 8 o'clock and then reach office, get Facebook done by around 4. And then from there on, like I start working on my side projects. So like from like 5 to 11:30, it's mostly like doing these side projects. We definitely like we have a dedicated time slot of like 2 hours where we don't touch our phones. We just like sit together and like relax for a while.
Holy shit, that's a very hard-working day. Do you do this every day? How do you keep yourself motivated to do this again and again?
That's a good question. And there are times when like I'm also burnt out and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. But then you receive a ping from someone that, okay, the thing that you're going to be working on is super interesting and like we should collaborate. And that keeps me motivated. Okay, like there are so many people counting on me, so I have to do my part as well. I've realized that the more word I spread out, the more interested I'm working on that project or like working in general.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've also realized. Like, if you tell people that this is what I'm doing, you're basically forcing yourself to, like you don't have an option now. You've told people it's out there. It's like social pressure.
Social accountability.
Yeah, social accounting. Yeah.
There's a funny thing that I was reading on this, that like sometimes when you say a thing out loud, your mind gets a satisfaction that you have already done it. So it's contrary, but yeah, like I think like spreading the word out works well for me at least.
And that's the science behind right. People say that you have to write your affirmations that I'll do this in the next like days or something, and you keep writing that every day. So they say like if you keep doing that, then mentally, like in your subconscious, you feel you've already done it and you start working on
it. Unlike the name, we are dwelling deep into our guest's thought process. Rapid Fire is our next segment where our guests will answer some quirky, some weird, but mostly fun questions.
I think, Jay, because you've been in technology for so long, what's that one technology that you think will take the future generation by storm?
Video conferencing. Like definitely the COVID-19 thing has moved everyone to realize that the business won't get affected if you do things virtually, which people were not very open to. And yeah, I think like, that's going to change a lot of things.
Is that the recency bias talking?
Sorry? Probably.
Okay, that's interesting. Like I never thought about it that way. When I was like writing this question, I always thought about like blockchain or AR, VR, something like that. But more and more companies will be moving towards work from home model.
Yeah, I was saying like if we think about it, like most of the companies that we think about are for the top 5%. But then there's another whole audience for 95% of the companies that people don't focus on. So if you think about like even meditation, like I've been talking to a lot of instructors. And they were very hesitant to do it online because they felt that they would not be able to transfer that energy to their students. But they have realized that no, it works perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of business models are now going to become virtual. Primary, I would feel like education, workouts, all of these are really like going to be much more virtual than they were before. And these fields are definitely going to evolve from you like spending X amount of time in traveling to that location to do that versus saving that time and like doing it just at your home. With this COVID-19, most of the people are going to realize this. And like video conference is going to be a key player to people able to do this.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the second question, like if you could invite 3 people for dinner and like talk to them, they could be living or dead, who would they be?
Wow.
People who you look up to, like your mentors, even though you haven't met them, they can be anyone.
It could be
it
you
It could
also.
be family also.
You could be Jay Shah as my mentor, or my. It could be. I think it could be fictional also. If you want some inspired from some one of the characters from Billions, that's fine too.
Oh yes, no, that's a good point. Like Bobby Axelrod is definitely one, which is the lead character in Billions. Mark Zuckerberg definitely. Like I've seen him a couple of times, and like his energy is tremendous. So like I definitely would want to learn a lot of things from him.
Yeah, for me, like that's like these 3 people would be Elon Musk, then Albus Dumbledore, and then third one being Warren Buffett.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Great choice.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay.
Next
Number
one.
3. In the age of surveillance, what's your opinion? Data privacy is more important or consumer convenience?
Data privacy.
Good answer. That's the correct one.
I was expecting something else since you work for Facebook, but we won't get there.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. Like I'm off Facebook years now. I don't know. Instagram
Wow.
too.
And then you own their shares, Atit. Like what the hell?
Yeah, because
Yeah, like you guys are not even users, and then you can promote, like buy shares of this.
I think you should be going on Facebook and clicking on random ads just to get it.
yeah. Or probably write some program which will do that.
Yeah, because like if you think about Warren Buffett, he drinks like Coke every day because he owned a share, right? You need to be the user in order to buy the shares.
I've been a user. I know how addictive it is, and I know that they have so much force behind them, so much resources to find that the 100th cognitive bias that we don't even know about. So I trust them to find the next one.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. If you could wake up with one new quality or ability, what would it be?
Information, like retaining the information, because there's so much information floating around and I find it really hard to keep all of it inside.
So like how do you retain right now? What do you have like a process to retain that information? I'll explain whenever I read a book, like I'm making notes on the book itself, and then on my phone, like in Google Keep, I'm making a notes of all the quotes and like which author said that. So that's how like I can remember things better. Like, do you have a process of your own?
Not really. Like I'm trying to read on how to read a book, because
Yes.
I read a bunch of books, but like the retaining on that information is very low for me. I'm trying to get better at it.
Yeah, I was listening to Tim Ferriss like on YouTube once, and then he said like we are never taught in school how to read and then how to think. Like those are the two main things that we are never taught. Like we are taught in like kindergarten how to read A, B, C, D, but then how to read faster and like how to retain more while reading. That's something that no school teaches right now.
For sure.
Yeah. I think, Jay, you can try Jim Quick. He also has like this entire YouTube videos on how to read faster and how to retain information better.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely read that.
If you could use a truth serum on someone, who would you use it on and why?
Wow, that's a good one. I will use it on Mark Zuckerberg again, because like I have this feeling that we record things, but I don't know how true that is.
Voice-based ads, yeah.
Yes.
I think we discussed this while you were in New York once.
Yes.
I partly remember the conversation because I think I was drunk. But yeah, like I think it's, and there are a lot of podcasts covering this as well. Like my understanding is based on location and search history of people, and Facebook is very good at matching those things. But yeah, using truth serum is like, I think it will change. Yeah, this understanding. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think it's just they have a very a lot of information edge and like good algorithms. They don't even need to do voice recording or anything.
And like when we asked this question to him, he definitely said that we know so much about a user and their social setting that like we don't intend, like it's not about us hearing that, but like that conversation has happened somewhere else, and we just try to link it back to that.
Our next segment is called Not the Onion, presenting 4 news articles that are mind-blowingly ridiculous that they could have been written by The Onion, a satirical news company. However, one is a fake article created by us. You have to guess which one is not The Onion.
Okay, so starting number 1, robots replace students for their graduation ceremony in Japan. So in a university in Tokyo, robots wearing caps and gowns were presented graduation degree, while students were on a live video chat through tablets, which were on the robot's face. One of the students, he said that I think this is a truly novel experience to receive a certificate in a public area while I'm living in my private space. So that's the first one. Second, UK government had to ask people to stop burning 5G towers. So there was a rumor in UK where they said 5G tower is causing coronavirus. People started burning 5G towers in a bunch of cities like Liverpool and Birmingham. And then the officials said like there is no scientific evidence related to 5G towers causing coronavirus, so please stop burning. South Korea introduces a new bill around hugging people. So lawmakers keeping coronavirus and similar pandemics in mind have introduced a new bill in the South Korean parliament forcing people to not hug in public spaces. Representatives backing the bill said that we need to start thinking about life after the peak of pandemic is hit and subsided. Stringent laws need to be put around physical contact before we can find a cure to the virus. And then finally, the fourth one, citizens in Canada are howling at the moon. So due to the loneliness in times of coronavirus, people have taken to howling at the moon every day in Canada. So one of the citizens said that I have gone out every night and howled. I've gone out with my roommates, and then last 2 days I've heard people howling back at me. So that creates a sense of community.
Wow.
So these are the 4 news articles. So we'll start with Jay. Jay, what's your guess? Like, which is the fake one?
South Korea or the howling one.
You have to make one.
Let's go ahead with the South Korea.
Okay. Heloni.
I think I would go with Jay's answer as well. The howling one, I just want it to be true. Like, it sounds so interesting. I want it to be true.
So Jay and Heloni are going with South Korea. Atit.
Yeah, I mean, the howling thing is weird enough to be true. But just so that I diversify my guess, I'll go with the howling thing.
Okay. So the answer is South Korea.
Yeah.
Howling is true. People were actually howling at the moon in Canada.
Oh my god.
That's crazy.
I think people are turning into werewolves now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good job, everyone.
These are nice ones.
Yeah.
Do we get a gift hamper or something?
Yeah, definitely. You get.
Jay, we will beta test your app for free.
And on top of that,
the link.
and on top of that,
That's great.
on top of the beta testing, we'll throw in some bragging rights for you too.
We'll be posting it on Twitter.
That's more than enough. I think I'm so overwhelmed now.
Yeah, but the 5G tower one was also a weird one for me because like 5G towers, they are not only in UK, they're everywhere, and they're like 5G tower is causing. It was very weird.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we are reaching the end of our show now, and it has been a pleasure to have you as our first guest, and hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed all our formats, and this is like a good experience for you, Jeff.
So that's about it, folks. We will be back next week with another guest and another story. We would love to hear your thoughts about the episode. Feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. You can just search What the Hat Podcast. Also, subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from, so you never miss out on the next episode. This is Hiloni, Atit, and Tapan signing off, and this was What the Hat.